Good morning. For our Gotan-E service this morning, we have the pleasure of having Reverend Dennis J. Shinseki as our guest speaker. I have known Reverend Shinseki for many years as he was born and grew up in Mountain View, which is very close to San Jose, where I grew up. Reverend Shinseki is a graduate of the Cal State University, and he received his master's in Buddhist Studies at the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley. He graduated in 1978. He then went to Japan and attended the Cho Bukkyo Gakuin in Kyoto from 1978 to 1981. When he returned, he became a minister first in Seattle and has served at White River, Salinas, and Mountain View temples. He is now the resident minister in the Monterey Buddhist Temple and the Watsonville Buddhist Temple, and also he is the supervising minister at the Salinas Buddhist Temple. He's a very busy man. And with that, we really appreciate his Dharma talk today for our Gotan-E service. So welcome. And thank you, Reverend Shinseki, for your talk today.
Thank you very much. If you'll please join me in Gasho. It is evident that the Shonin was a manifestation of Amida Nyorai. Therefore, his teachings must be regarded as a direct communication of Amida, which is on one hand to dispel the darkness of this defiled world by means of the pure light of wisdom, and on the other to give the necessary moisture by sending down the spiritual rain of nectar to us who are ignorant and confused and dying of dryness of heart. So let us, in adoration, believe this. Nam mandavs, nam mandavs, nam mandavs, nam mandavs. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Reverend Hosei and the San Diego Buddhist Temple for the invitation to speak to you today. Today, your temple is observing the Gotan-E service commemorating the birth of our founder, Shinran Shonin. And we celebrate his birth, I believe, because it is Shinran's teachings that we're able to experience stability and peace of mind here and now at this very moment. So the question is, who needs stability and who needs peace of mind? How many of you watching today have ever used bad language? How many of you think nasty things? How many of you do bad things, hurt other people, talk behind their backs? How many of you have anxiety over the effects of your thoughts, words, and actions? How many of you worry about your finances, your relationships, or feel that you are misunderstood? If you answered yes to just one of these, then you need stability and peace of mind. And the teachings of Shinran Shonin are made for you. You recall that Shinran called himself a bald-headed, ignorant fool because he suffered anxieties over his thoughts, words, and actions. And for that reason, he desired realization of the Pure Land, or enlightenment itself. Because when our thoughts are directed towards the Pure Land, we become more conscious of this life, of this very moment. And that is why I believe we take time in our lives to listen to the Buddha's teachings. And I believe that is why we say Namo Amida Butsu. To listen to the Buddha's teachings, to cultivate the mind and heart that realizes that everything that we do, one smile, one sour look, even one thought, good and bad, it affects my life. It has taken effect upon my life and the life of others. When we understand this, Namo Amida Butsu, the Buddha's name is said through our lips. And when we recite the Buddha's name, it is an expression that this event, or this thought, or this moment, is taking effect upon my life. Not too long ago, my minister's assistants and we had this conversation. I was sharing with them how when I first started as a minister many years ago in Seattle, I used to hear members in the Hondo reciting the Nembutsu. It was spontaneous. We would hear Nam Mandavs, Nam Mandavs. And we discussed how in our current time, we often don't hear that anymore. The Nembutsu is recited or repeated after the minister says it. We don't hear that spontaneous recitation of Nembutsu. And I wonder, how many of us recite the Buddha's name spontaneously or out loud? Maybe on the golf course or maybe in the casino? I don't know. So I want to share with you a story about a woman, we'll call her Mrs. X, and she was known as someone who recited the Buddha's name often. But she was also known as being very mean, and she was always in a sour mood. But every day, 3 times a day, she would recite Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So about 1,000 times in a day. And she would brag about it too. She told everyone, for the past 10 years, I've recited the Buddha's name thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Although she reputedly did this for 10 years, her personality did not change one single bit. She was still mean, self-centered, and went around telling everybody how devoted she was because of her calling of the Buddha's name. Well, one day, a friend who was tired of hearing her brag decided to teach her a lesson. He went to her home, and he could hear her calling the name of the Buddha. So he went to the front door, and he started banging on the door, and he yelled out her name, Mrs. X, Mrs. X, banging on the door. Well, Mrs. X heard him and was annoyed that he would bother her while she was in the middle of her practice. But she told herself she would control herself and concentrate on her practice. However, the friend continued to bang on the front door and called her name, Mrs. X, Mrs. X. And Mrs. X kept struggling in the middle of her Nembutsu and was thinking, I should get up and give him a piece of my mind. Nam mandavas, nam mandavas. As she continued to call the Buddha's name, her anger mounted and mounted as her friend continued to call her out, Mrs. X, Mrs. X. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She threw her bell on the floor, stomped to the front door, threw the door open, walked right up to her friend's face and said, why do you behave this way? Why do you have to interrupt and keep calling out my name over and over and over again? To this, her friend replied, I just called your name for 10 minutes. Look how angry you've gotten. You've been calling the Buddha's name for 10 years. Think how angry the Buddha must be by now. Okay, the friend, for no reason, was calling out the woman's name. The woman, for no reason, was calling out the Buddha's name. We must remember, especially in saying Namo Amida Butsu, that it is an expression of how my life has been affected. There's no benefit to be gained. Let us take a moment to think about this idea, that Nembutsu is an expression of how our lives have been affected. And to kind of point this out, I'd like to use as an example a light. We see light in our eyes. The Japanese expression for light is read ko or hikari and looks like this. The character is made up of 2 parts. One is fire, and on the bottom is person. So the character looks like a person holding fire, carried by someone. In other words, like a torch. The kanji is not just a word, but is a symbol. A person walking with a torch lights up darkness or leads the way out of darkness. The connotation is that someone, the Buddha, is leading us out of darkness. The Buddha is light, enlightenment, and we exist in darkness, ignorance, or unenlightenment. So in the Dhammapada, it tells us that the sun shines by day, the moon shines by night, continually. Day and night does the luminous Buddha shine. And in the Lotus Sutra, it says, the Buddha emitted a light from between his eyebrows, This light illuminated the eastern direction, 18,000 Buddha lands. One could see how many Buddha lands adorned with numerous jewels shone brightly because of the Buddha's light. And in the Comedy Ojiko, it says, the Buddha of immeasurable life has 84,000 features. Each feature has 84,000 secondary attributes. Each secondary attribute sends forth 84,000 rays of light. Each ray of light shines out over the world of the 10 quarters. And those sentient beings who are mindful of the Buddha are embraced by that light, never to be abandoned. So this is an example, as we can see, of the Buddha's light that reaches each and every one of us without discrimination. So within this is the Buddha's view of light, or the Buddhist view of light. Over and over we have heard the term Muryokyo, or unlimited, boundless light. What does unlimited light mean? At night, if we go outside and if we turn on a flashlight, the beam only goes so far. It is limited. And of course, unlimited boundless means it goes on forever. What this means is that when it comes to many things in life, our birth, our growing old, our wealth, our declining health, our death, we're like the beam of light from a flashlight. It only goes so far. But the Buddha's wisdom, as shown by his teaching, is unlimited and boundless light. The light of the Buddha's teachings is not the light from a flashlight, or the sun, or a light bulb. Rather, it represents the wisdom of great compassion. It is a spiritual light, or light of wisdom. And just as light destroys darkness, so the light of the Buddha's teaching destroys the darkness of ignorance and opens our eyes so that we can see the truth. Furthermore, just as the light of the sun nurtures all things, the unlimited light of the Buddha's teaching nurtures and leads us to a more wholesome, to a better life. But all that is kind of theoretical, because the question is, can you see the light? Can I see the light? We are told that the form of the Buddha's light are his words, found in sutras and in Namo Amida Butsu. This also tells us something. The Buddha is a teacher. We are the students. The teaching is intended for each and every one of us. So when we talk about light, there is a source for the light, and then there is the subject, or the receiver of the light. The source of the light is the world of enlightenment. It is Ojodo, the Pure Land. Buddha and enlightenment is the mind that does not make a distinction between self and others. It is a person who has completely broken away from delusion and self-centered passions. A person who has no desires or hatred, who is able to see everyone impartially and treat them as being equally precious. So if we take a moment and we reflect upon our family members, especially those who have died, we're told to think of them as Buddhas. The reason is that in their eyes, each of you are equally precious. Shinran Shonin said in his Wasan, attaining the impartial mind is called reaching the level where everyone is considered an only child. Reaching such a level is Buddha, which we will realize in the land of serene sustenance. The impartial mind refers to the mind that transcends love and hate and treats everyone as a precious child who cannot be replaced. So when we reflect upon the lives of our loved ones, we can all understand Shinran's words. This realm where everyone is treated as an only child, it is the true nature of a Buddha. That is why we refer to our loved ones as Buddhas. Because no matter what we are like that precious child that cannot be replaced. Our life is embraced in that way. If we truly can understand this, then doesn't our world change, and doesn't the way we look at the world change? And it is that new world that is illuminated by infinite light. And that same light reveals to us our ignorance. It awakens true realization in our lives. And it is the essence of the Pure Land. And unlike everyday light that is in our lives, like the light bulbs and the sun and such, the light of the Dharma cannot be seen with our eyes. For example, you cannot see friendship, you cannot see trust, you cannot see love, etc. But without these things, life would be very difficult. You can only see what is most important in your life with the eyes of your mind and heart that are illuminated by the Dharma. Here I'd like to quote Kaneko Dae. He says, "At nighttime, on a clear evening, when the moon is shining brightly, if I look at the moon, my vision is narrow and limited. I am on the earth and the moon is in the sky. If we reverse the direction of looking and say the moon sees me, then I, the so-called seer of the moon, become illuminated by the light of the moon, and correspondingly, all that exists around me becomes illuminated. I am able to even sense small dewdrops of moisture, brightly reflecting the moon's light off the leaves of trees and blades of grass." So we need to change the way in which we look at the world. The Myokonin Saichi said, "As the moon is shining upon a tree, it casts a shadow. The brighter the light of the moon, the darker the shadow becomes." Here Saichi likens the light that shines on him to the Buddha Dharma, and the shadow to his bonno, or his imperfect, lazy, ignorant self. This understanding is so very profound, and it explains the essence of Shinnan's teachings and the power of Nembutsu. We are made to become aware of our ignorance and all that we have taken for granted and ignored or never noticed before. We can see all that exists around us in our lives and how we are dependent upon a great number of existences, a great number of causes and conditions. I am able to see my true and real self because of the light of great compassion. I'm going to end here with an incident in Shinnan's life. He was living in a temple in Kyoto. He was elderly. He had a follower by the name of Kakushimbo. Kakushimbo was also very elderly and becoming very ill. As each passing day went by, Kakushimbo's condition grew worse and worse. So one day Shinnan went to visit him, and he realized that Kakushimbo was very near death. Kakushimbo could hardly breathe, and yet, with each breath, he was reciting the Nembutsu over and over and over again. So Shinnan asked him, "The fact that you are reciting the Nembutsu without pause and so earnestly, despite your suffering, is indeed praiseworthy. But with what feeling are you reciting the Nembutsu?" Kakushimbo replied, "My breathing in this world is now limited to a moment. I understand that during every moment that I breathe, I should acknowledge with gratitude the benevolence of the Buddha. The fact that a person like myself can attain birth in the Pure Land is due only to the compassion of the Buddha. My only thoughts are those of gratitude to the Buddha. In order to repay my debt of gratitude, I am reciting the Nembutsu." At that moment, Shinnan and Kakushimbo embraced. Shinnan personally shared this story with his grandson, and he told his grandson that I personally think that herein lies the essence of the true teachings. So with Shinnan's own words and examples, we do not say Namo Amida Butsu for any benefit when we are dying or otherwise. We recite the Nembutsu to express our gratitude for the realization of the Pure Land, because when our thoughts are turned to the Pure Land, again, we become more conscious of this life. To say Namo Amida Butsu is to know and experience the fact that my world of truth affects my life. It has taken effect upon my life, and has taken effect upon my life at this very moment. So despite our anxieties, we may continue to live with stability and peace of mind, thanks to Shinnan Shonin and his teachings. I want to thank the San Diego Buddhist Temple for their kind invitation, to Reverend Akahoshi as well. Thank you. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nammanda Butsu. Nammanda Butsu. Nammanda Butsu.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this Gotan-E service. On behalf of the temple, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Reverend Shinseki from Monterey and Watsonville temples. We thank him for taking time out of his busy schedule to prepare and present his Dharma message for us to listen to and enjoy. We hope he can visit us in San Diego sometime soon. Thank you to Kenji Sensei for officiating today's service and to Ralph Honda for chairing and organizing the program. Special thanks to Bill Teague for putting the video together for us to view, and appreciation to the Zoom team, Kimberly Cruz and Jamie Shimizu for their technical assistance. A very big thank you to Robert and Sharon Sasaki for sharing their musical talents in playing the guitar and singing the Gatha on Doksan. In closing, we want to give deep gratitude to you, the Sangha, for your generous donations and constant support to the temple. We look forward to meeting in person soon. Thank you very much.
I have several announcements to share with you at this time. The temple's world-famous taiko troupe is seeking new members who are interested in learning the art form of Japanese Buddhist drumming. Please email Chelsea Koga at chelseyn@gmail.com for more information. Are you interested in Buddhism but not sure where to start? Check out Buddhism Ground Zero with your chance to ask questions in an open and free discussion. The 1-hour class begins with peaceful meditation and transitions to asking questions. Please check the BTSD website for more information. Are you a foodie? I see some eyebrows raised when I mention that culinary word. The Buddhist Churches of America's Endowment Foundation and the Dharma Forward program will team up with Panda Express restaurants across the United States for a virtual community fundraiser all day Saturday, May 22nd. Order online using the special 903354 coupon code. Walk-in orders will not be accepted. You may obtain the informational flyer from the BTSD website or call the office and have one emailed to you. A very generous 20% of all sales benefits the BCA's foundation. Share the information with family and friends, have a nice meal, and support the BCA. The 25th BTSD Golf Tournament will take place on Sunday, June 27th at Riverwalk Golf Club in Mission Valley. Up to 72 golfers will participate in the temple's first major fundraising event in nearly 19 months. If you are not a golfer and wish to support the tournament, the committee is accepting monetary and merchandise gift card donations. Please mail your donation to the temple no later than June 18th. Please check the BTSD website and monthly Busei Script newsletter for more opportunities relating to religious, social, fundraising, and community events the temple supports. Thank you very much.